hear me? Well, thank you, Mr. Burns. Also want to show for the minutes that we do have two members that are not here tonight. Mr. Jamie Cantrell and Matt Reeves are not here. They both had emergencies and had to attend to. Again, I'll echo what Mr. Burns says. Thank you all for agreeing to do this. This is so important for Anderson County. I want to talk a little bit about how we got here. Decades of just deferred maintenance, the funding there. With that, we've looked at a couple of options. Our first option we looked at was a road fee, a $25 road fee, generate about $6 to $8 million a year, which with about a mile is about $1 million to pave a mile of road. So that's not going to get us very far. We looked at millage increases, not enough there. I think a mill's about $1 million also. Just not enough there to get enough money to where we need to be. So we've looked at this option, and hopefully county will see this as probably one of our better options to raise $250-something million over the next 6-7 years. Is the kind of funding we need to dig out of the hole that we've created here. So that's kind of how we got here. Again, thank you for your willingness to serve. And the first thing we need to do tonight is to elect our chair, co-chair, and secretary. So I'm going to open it up by, do we have any nominations for chair?
I nominate Richard Nolan.
I'll second.
Thank you.
So we're signing up for a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm probably look right behind you.
All in favor? All in favor? Yes. Say aye. I'm sorry.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Chair, would you like to nominate the co-chair or vote the co-chair?
I'd like to nominate Trey Thomas to be the co-chair.
Have a second.
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 Thank you. All in favor? All in favor? All right. Thank you. So, you also like to do secretary?
Sure, I'm gonna nominate Joey to be the secretary.
We have a second.
Second.
Second. All in favor? So Joey. Thank you for that. So next on the agenda is I've got Gary Pope here. He's going to go through the process.
You hear me? Very good. Who has who will point out to us advance the slides? Scroll over here. Perfect.
If we could have everybody's attention, we will start. We appreciate everybody being here. Again, thank everyone for being here, but we would really like to thank the commissioners who have agreed to do this. And this is purely volunteer. They're not getting paid anything. They will not get their road paved. We will not put them in a new driveway or any of those things because we're going to run this straight. But I'd like for them to introduce themselves. But first, I'm going to ask Trey to introduce the two people he selected. And then I'm going to introduce a few of the people who are here. Have Councilman Chris Sullivan, who is here with us tonight. And we have Deputy County Administrator Mr. Hogan and Mr. Gary Pope, our attorney for this project. Also, we have Miss Gay Spray right here. She works with us on this. Jonathan Fox, Drew Cole, B. These are the brains who handle all of this stuff and will be our resource to do this. But again, thank y'all so very much for doing this. You're going to make a lot of friends, and you're going to find people who want to shoot you, so you just need to understand that. But one of the things that we have been asked, are you getting paid? And unfortunately, you aren't getting paid. The other thing is, y'all are going to spend all this money on Buc-ee's. No, none of this money, not one penny will be used for Buc-ee. So when people tell you that, that's a misnomer. It's not true. It's not a fact. It's not it. What it will be spent on is what the members of the commission decide that it will be spent on and placed on the ballot. So that's how that process runs. But I'm not going to belabor that fact because all of these smart people are going to do that for you. Thank you. Man?
You all hear me? Very good. Who do I point at to advance the slides?
You're gonna have to pull out the drawer.
Drawer here.
and just do,
Perfect. That's great. All right. As Mr. Burns said, I'm Gary Pope. I am of the law firm Pope Flynn. We work at pretty much almost exclusively, excuse me, in the area of public finance. And I've worked on a number of these sales taxes around the state, and there are a number of nuances to it, and I'm here to sort of help guide y'all through that process and be a resource for any questions y'all have. I mean, frankly, maybe my biggest contribution is I already have documents that do everything y'all are probably going to want to do, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel in doing that. It can be a little bit more efficient in sort of having a chassis upon which y'all can build and sort of make the will of the commission known. But before we start that, it may be helpful for the members of the commission as well as the members of the audience to sort of get an overview of, what is a capital project sales tax, how do you implement it, and sort of how do you go through that process. If y'all have any questions, feel free to just jump right in at any point and interrupt me. But otherwise, this was a pretty comprehensive presentation, but I'll try to move through it fairly quickly. My understanding, and Mr. Burns will have to correct me, is that a transportation sales tax was proposed last year and was narrowly disfavored, and then would this be the first time a capital project sales tax has been proposed, and so this would be the first time a capital project sales tax has been proposed. Oh, sorry, second time.
Yeah, 2006.
In 2006. Thank you. I appreciate that.
What's the difference between those two?
Sorry. Great question. So, first slide. There are two types of sales taxes that a county can implement in order to finance transportation projects. This presentation is in y'all's packets. There's a capital project sales tax. There's a transportation sales tax. Both are essentially have the same scope of items that they apply to. Transportation has to only go to fund transportation items only. You do not form a commission. It is up to county council as to what goes on ballot, and it can run for a much, much longer period of time. A capital project sales tax, you have to form a commission. The commission has to be half appointees of the municipalities in the county. The commission gets to decide what goes on the ballot. You are not strictly limited to transportation, although many of them have been by choice limited to just transportation projects. And those are the two vehicles by which county can impose a 1% sales tax subject to referendum in both cases. One being the transportation sales tax, the other the capital project. Primary difference is county council decides what goes on the transportation sales tax ballot. The capital project sales tax commission, you fine gentlemen, would decide what goes on the capital project sales tax commission ballot. Correct, they must go to capital projects, and it has to go to the capital projects that are on the ballot, and also the Department of Revenue has a significant oversight responsibility to make sure that every single penny that is raised goes to one of the projects that is on the capital project sales tax. Yes, and the form of that ballot is going to be a decision that the commission makes. There have been ones that have had 375 projects on there, and there have been ones that have been a little bit easier, reader-friendly, that are down to 4 or 5 purposes that it's been to, and there's a lot of space in between, and it will be up to the commission to determine what is aimed at best informing the voters of what would be funded from the sales tax. It's like you're presaging some of the things we're going to get to later, but absolutely it cannot change once you form the ballot and it goes to county council. Their decision is up or down, yes or no. They cannot line item veto. They cannot amend, alter any of the projects that are on the ballot.
Deadline for that is?
County council so I'll work backwards, and the county council has to have the ballot to the election commission by noon on August 15th of this year. They have to give 3 readings to it. If 3 readings to the ordinance that sends that to the election commission. Assuming a normal reading schedule, that would mean that the first reading would be in the middle of July. I mean, I think the sooner the better, but the sort of first soft deadline to have the ballot completed by the commission is the middle of July, because it has to be on county council agenda by then. So, the sooner the better. Yeah, I'd say something that's,
I can address some of that.
Mr. Sprague can
Yeah,
address
when
that.
I come up there, yeah.
I'm going to let the county folks.
We can speak to that. Mr.
Let
Pope?
let me run through the rest of this process part, and then we will get to what y'all actually want to talk about, which is the substance of all of this right after this. But this will sort of set the table, and then we can sort of figure out what y'all want to have for dinner after that. All right. So step 1, county council creates the commission. The appointees are made. So we're at step 3. We're right at the point where we need to receive the projects. From there, y'all would create the ballot. Then the county council adopts the ordinance. Prioritization, system of funding projects, y'all can have a say in that. It's up to y'all. It's optional. If y'all don't do it, county council has to do it. You would then conduct the referendum. County council adopts the referendum. By August 15th, conduct the referendum in November, impose the sales tax on the succeeding May 1, and then it ends on the date that's selected in the ballot for it to end, which will be the April 30th of an even year. Whether it's 2, 4, 6, or 8 years, that's a sort of subject of some debate and discussion, but that'll be something that need to be decided. But you can't go beyond 8 years, and it has to be in 2-year increments up to that. I think y'all are pretty familiar with how the commission's appointed, but just for members of the audience, for reference, county appoints 3 members. Then the largest, essentially the way it works, the largest municipality in the county, which is the city of Anderson, they're the only one that had a whole number next to their point of index, so they got to appoint Mr. Thomas, and then Mr. Thomas then gets to appoint the other 2 municipal commissioners, which is a strange quirk in the statute. It's the way I've always read it. That's the guidance from the Attorney General as well. So that is our process. As discussed before, the County Council does not select the projects for the ballot. That is the domain of the Capital Project Sales Tax Commission. It can be many small projects. It can be just a few large projects, but that'll be what gets talked about and decided a little bit further on. There's no statutorily defined process for how you decide what goes on the ballot or what gets selected, other than it needs to be the type of project that's in the statute, which is a capital project, sort of a bricks and mortar project. I've found that it's helpful to have a more formalized proceeding like we're having now, and to have a nice schedule and various sort of documents that you can look at and as references that other counties have used, and sort of get some go-bys. The form of the ballots, can't get too creative here. It says, must a special 1% sales and use tax be imposed in Anderson County for not more than the specified amount of time to raise the amounts for the following purposes. And then you list out all of your purposes, and that's it. The only thing that county council can do is they could send it back to you, I guess, if they didn't agree with your ballot, or they can also add a borrowing question if they decide to do that. But that's the only sort of discretion that's out there for them. This is a form of ballot. I call this sort of a hybrid form. This is what the Spartanburg County Sales Tax Commission did the other year and they did only transportation. And the way they did it was they had this amount for this purpose, which consists of this many projects, and here's an illustrative list. That's not all 38 that's in that first category, but that's sort of an illustrative list. There have been others that have had it really, really short, like I've said, and they've had others that put 368 projects on a ballot and made it 25 pages long. And I'm not saying people should vote or not vote for a 378 project list, but I think that one lost 70-30. I think people didn't like a 25-page ballot, but be that as it may. County Council ordinance. This sort of goes through some items I've already talked about. The referendum has to be held at the general election time frame. That's defined in the statute as the first Tuesday following the first Monday in a month. So that's November 4th of this year. I believe. And these are just some sort of implementation items. It's collected and distributed by the Department of Revenue. County probably wouldn't get any significant distributions. If it's imposed on May 1, they're not going to get a significant distribution until probably September, October timeframe based on past experience. We've already covered these items. If there's a financing, it would need to be also as part of a referendum. And then I'm going to let Ms. Sprague speak more to the timeline. This is just sort of a general time frame along the lines we've already discussed, and that's my contact information. But with that, I'll sort of hop out of there and turn it over to Ms. Sprague.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, and I want to add my thanks for your service. I want to go over the process sort of information, and it will address a couple of your questions in your notebook. You, in very front is the timeline. And so for Commissioner Black's question, let me tell you where your input about projects is vital. So we're meeting on the 16th, which is tonight. On the 23rd, we'll have this second meeting, and at that meeting, we will have a suggestion for y'all about the resolution, which puts all this together for you to consider. That evening also, we'll have a public participation meeting. It will be held in this room immediately after our 5:30 meeting, and we'll get comments from the public. I'll also receive them via email. So really over the next week, we need y'all's any input you have about the projects so we can put all that together and get it back to you in a final form by the 30th. Then, let's see what else is on my list. Public participation, we just talked about. People can, we want to have their comments in writing so they can send them via email, or if they come to that meeting in a week, they can write their comments. The answer is yes, that's in your packet. What's very important, once again, through all of this about advocacy is no county resources can be used to advocate for the referendum. Y'all don't have a county phone, you don't have a county email, I don't believe you'll be in making copies on the county copier, so not worried about all that, but just once again for the public's benefit to know that is where the line is drawn. No county resources can be used in advocacy. The county staff, county resources can be used for education, but in a campaign advocacy kind of way, that is not the case. Let's see. And then Jonathan is up next, and he'll talk about some of those projects.
I'm glad you left all the questions for me. I appreciate that very much. The list you guys are looking at right now, that's a draft list. You may see that some years are stacked with a lot of Belton roads, or year two stacked with a lot of Pendleton roads if you've been looking through that. This is a draft. Our final list won't be ready until about a week and a half from now. That gives you guys plenty of time for input, the public plenty of time for input, the municipalities that we've been working with. We want to hear from everybody. We want to hear what you guys are hearing. And if you didn't know, Anderson County has 1,553 miles of roads and 159 bridges. We have 81 people on staff to take care of all of that, including myself. And you don't see me getting dirty every day. So we've got 80 people out there working every day to keep track of everything. 1,553 miles of roads in Anderson County. Now that's not including the municipalities. If you include the municipalities, we're up to 1,932 miles of road. And that's not including state roads outside of municipalities. When we were developing this list, we had a company come in about a year ago and scan all of our roads. They did it's an automated scan. They're using lasers and all sorts of futuristic technology. If you saw the van driving around, I think we made a joke about it being the mystery machine at one point. So that scanned every road in the county and gave us an idea of what the current condition was on every road. So we took that data, used it against road classification that helps show us, on a major local road, we're not seeing as much traffic as we're seeing on a major collector road or a major arterial road. So we want to make sure that when we presented this list, we want to present the roads that are getting the most impact. You know, we're not paving my subdivision, but we're paving the main road that I used to get to work every day, the one that I hit potholes on every day. And then again, going back to the list, as you see, we started grouping things geographically because that makes sense. You know, if a contractor is going to be working in the Belton area, it makes sense for him to stay in the Belton area for a year or two. Again, we need to take some time, digest that with the input of the public and you guys to make sure that we come up with a finalized list that you guys can stand behind, and so can we as we send this to the voters in November. So absolutely. So there was 3 factors that we used, and I talked about 2 of them. The PCI, which is the Pavement Condition Index. The second one was the classification that tells us what kind of road it is, what kind of volumes of traffic it should be seeing. The third one, we added in a 10% factor for what we called the repeat maintenance factor. What roads, what major minor collector, these large roads, are we getting calls about frequently? What roads are we going out every other week and patching potholes on? Those are the ones that we need to take care of, and take care of now before the next thing we know, we're busting tires and everything else that you guys are likely going to hear over the next few weeks. The 1,553 is just county roads. The 400-ish that's between, that's the city and state roads within the municipalities. So with the county's list, any road that you see county next to, it is a county road. It is not a state road. Within the municipalities, they may have some state roads. We left that up to their discretion. They know their constituents, they know their communities, and how they would best be served by this tax, so we left that to their discretion. So that's something that whenever a new development comes or a new business comes, they're required to submit a traffic study to us and whatever municipality they serve in. So all that's brought in when they build their business. We do look after the fact as things grow, as they do over time. We do look to add new crosswalks, new safety improvements, and there are some safety improvements listed in here. That's another thing why we want to get the public input, because I drive the same way home every day, but I don't drive the same way you do. And you may see things that I don't see every day. So you and the public can see where those safety concerns are that I may not experience in my day-to-day travels.
So in the county, any development that generates more than 75 trips in the peak hour has to do a traffic impact study. And very often that also has to be reviewed by the DOT. And if the impact is only on a DOT road, then it is up to the DOT whether or not to require improvements. But they often do, and we often do. So it's based on what the impact is of that specific development.
We've done our best to take a blend of both. Currently, as Matt mentioned, we're decades behind on doing the maintenance that we should have been doing all along. We haven't paved a county road with county funds in 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 6, other than CTC funds. So we're falling behind desperately, and we're at a point we need to catch up, but we also need to be taking into account these new developments. And if you look on your list, you'll see Harriet Circle's in there, which is a common area. Midway's in there, Crestview's in there, Vandiver's in there, that area that's booming over there. And there's other areas across the county that are facing the same thing, Mount Airy Church, so on and so forth. When you look through that list, those are why you're seeing those roads. Is not only is there growth that's come here now, but there's growth that's coming that we foresee, and those roads need to be widened. They need to be striped. They need rumble strips, and so on and so forth to keep, I don't have teenage drivers yet, but I will soon, to keep my kids safe, just like they keep all of our other kids, everybody else's kids safe. Yeah, absolutely. I can pinpoint Michael Gay here. I believe that was one of his projects that he had on the list. That's why we want you guys all here. That's why we want all the mayors, the town representatives here. Again, you guys drive a different way home than we do every day. You see something different than we do, and we need to hear about it.
We're not widening road.
Yeah, so we're not going from a 2-lane road to a 4-lane road. If we're talking about widening, we're talking about adding a 2-foot shoulder to add, safety there for people running off the road. Just wanted to mention that. But does the commission have any other questions for me?
23 at 5:30 in council chambers here. And following that at 6:30, we'll have our public comment section of that, as Ms. Gay talked about.
Going around the county having safety meetings in various parts of the county. That's already been going on. How many have we had? 2 or 3?
We've had several.
We've had several of those meetings across the county to receive public input on where do you think the most dangerous areas are. And that process is continuing. But as to your population in Anderson County right now, as of 3 weeks ago from the Census Bureau, is 217,000 plus. And so that's quite a dramatic increase in a very short time. But I just want, Matt, with your permission, we have Mayor Ed Sokol from Star. Mayor, would you stand up? Mayor Belton, Mayor Honeypath, where's Frank? Councilwoman Merchant, she's back here. Everybody who's affiliated with a government, would you please stand so everybody can see who you are? And you can ask these people what they think the priorities are in their areas, because they're the ones we requested they send us what they thought was the most important. And so that's what we have from everybody. And so that'll be part of this. But again, it's going to be up to y'all to decide what goes on that list and how it should be listed on that list. I think Jonathan told you if you add the city and county roads, it's around 1,900. But there are also 1,250 miles of state roads in the county. So as you can see, because of the large geographical size of the county, we have a lot of roads, a whole lot of roads. And in conclusion, you got something to say, Matt?
I was gonna, the 2006 capital tax, I don't know what went wrong there, I was not here.
I can tell you what went wrong there.
That was.
They packed every piece of pork known to mankind on that list, from putting Buster a playroom out in the backyard, and that's why it went down in flames. I can assure you that. That's why the council wanted this to be strictly for roads and transportation, and it will be up to y'all to make sure that that's what it's about, because that's the biggest need in the county. But again, thank y'all very, very much for volunteering to do this. This won't be easy, but I mean, just thank y'all very, very much.
Okay.
Richard, what made you want to get involved in this? Not like you don't have enough to do already in your life. Why did you want to get involved in this roads commission?
Well, I think it's important to have open framework or open mind about what needs to be done in Anderson County and what we need to have accomplished. And so I come with an open mind, and I want to listen and see what everybody has to say and try to get the roads in better shape in Anderson County.
And y'all are working on a pretty tight timeline, right, to get this to county council?
It's pretty tight, yes, sir. I think we got about 3 weeks to get our information together and get it to county council so they can start doing the readings that they need to get it approved, or to deny it, I guess, if they want to, but to hopefully get it approved.
As they mentioned, you're going to try to keep this all completely transparent. Y'all going to be meeting in public. You're going to meet with the mayors, let everybody know what's going on throughout the system.
Correct. We're going to be out in the open. Anybody who wants to can feel free to call me if they want to, and I think that we'll have a list of roads, and it will be very defined what the money will be able to go towards. It won't be as undefined and random as some of the past ballots have been.
And so this one, what separates this one is that it includes the municipalities, which the last one didn't really factor in. So that kind of makes this one really countywide. I know you're from the Belton area.
Yep, I think the municipalities have a lot of county roads in them too, and the participation of the municipalities will allow us to get better input from the citizens around and from the county officials in each one of those municipalities. The 1% tax is something that they've tried to do it a couple of other times, and I think it's been too ill-defined, and it's been not specific, and there's been a lot of people who have felt like they could do that. The county officials could do whatever they wanted to with some of this money instead of what they needed to do, which was fix the roads. So this particular referendum, the way it's designed and set up, is that all the monies will go to the projects that are listed, to the projects that are approved, and there'll be no way that they can change that. It's fixed once that's done. Tonight was our initial meeting, and this is the first time that we've gotten together and been able to really discuss any of these items with anybody. So tonight was more of an informative meeting to try to get a general scope of what we're going to be doing and what we're going to be tasked with. And our task is to come up with something to present to council to give them a list of roads that we think are in need of these repairs and worthy of being included in the list. And so in the next couple of meetings, we're going to, the next meeting will start off with a meeting kind of like this, I believe, do some discussion, and then we'll get input from the public, which is that's probably the most important thing that we need to have, is good input from the public so that we can know where their concerns are, what roads they need to do. Because they travel these roads that I don't. Okay, I go to work every day, and I come home, and I'll travel, to Anderson, and I'll go to Pendleton, or I'll go to Clemson, and I'll go to all these different places around town. But I don't travel all the roads that everybody else does. And so the input that we get from them is going to be critical for us doing the job that we need to do. And once we get that input, we're going to sit down and we're going to try to come up with a list of roads that are worthy of being repaired, that are priorities to get repaired and fixed and get in better shape. Any of the input that we can get from the public and from people who have concerns about different things would be appreciated and would be certainly by me, okay, would be considered, and I think that's going to be helpful for